Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 31st. We'll scroll through the numbers. Here we are with the NASDAQ. Quite a mixed bag there. You can see a lot of sells along with some of the new buys. Pretty healthy. I mean, we've had a lot of vibration, so to speak, back and forth. Been quite complex. S&P, a lot more diversity in those readings. A little bit more red than green, evidenced by the daily sell signal that we've been looking at. Dow has also been more red. We saw the weakness in the Dow before the others. Some of the high flyers doing just fine. Quite a mix within their days, though, and this is part of that rotation that we're seeing back and forth. Nothing exceedingly dramatic, but been some gyrations compared to what most people are used to. Let's move on to the daily. Okay, flipping over to the daily, we can see that, well, we finally ended the deep red readings from that standpoint, but we had the steel move above the cyan. Positive there, but it's got to take out this previous high. We've actually started to see a little bit of the cyan move up and still no help with green falling. But the fact that the green didn't dip below the red, positive there. So if it pivots up, can certainly take that one out. Mediocre as far as the extreme. We're not seeing, Russian buyers, nor are we seeing a bunch of sellers. So that's what's kind of holding things flat. We did get a little bit more of the retraces that we were feeling were necessary. I mean, from the 50K standpoint, we had first looked right here. We were then thinking that we would get all the way down to here. We got to the upper echelon of that point, and then the last time it was a bit overbought. It was all the way up here where we long since eclipsed that. So holding up pretty well, but you can see separated again. The only thing giving this strength now is that you got a higher red than the previous pivot with the green still rising on that. So even though you get the separation, not particularly attractive, but the fact that you're making higher red, that's going to keep holding price in place, or at least in moving up. Breaks into a new zone, I would expect to see a little bit more of a pop from it. We'll have to see if that narrows. At this particular point, it has now. You can see it rebought within the configuration. I would have been more attracted to the one, back over here at turning green than where it did up there, but it is what it is on that. If we look at the 5K, put up one that's active. All right, so here's the 5K from this standpoint. Now, interesting, if you look up here where it says buy sells, you can see all these ones after it. That's the change in allowing you to turn on and off components. And you can see here we have the white candles. Also have the green candles. Those are all turn off and on, as well as the alerts that go with them, as well as the cyan candles. Creating a whole separate web page that details each of these criteria and what responds to them. In this particular case, the white candle, you can kind of see the cross of the red-white. At the same time, steel is rising above cyan, and it happened again right over here. What's attractive about this is the rising pivots on the lower side, and then boom, also taking out the previous high of the peak pivot right here, and that led to a very nice run, which was quite attractive. And then you can see it reverted back again here. Steel gave you the early indication that things were fading, then green dipped below, and then you get the confirmation when steel finally went above on a little bit of a pop back up to it, and then it proceeds to drop down from there. So still slightly in a negative short-term mode there. But overall, daily, yeah, you've got a little bit of a bonus with the rising steel. That's what's keeping price from completely imploding on it. But pivot lower at this particular point, and the green dipping below red could cause really a floodgate to open up a little bit stronger than I think some people would be ready for. That nice rising steel held up the NASDAQ as well. And likewise did so for the Dow, but in a little bit less strength. And you can see it, the green actually faded a little bit. So a little mismatch where you had the improvement for the NASDAQ on both of those. The Dow still looks to be the weakest. Now, if it pivots here before, takes out this previous high, where are we at? 584, and the current range 456. So that'll be an interesting one to see that development take place, but that could lead to further weakness. Did get slightly over the red, but now you've dipped back below. If this takes out this previous bottom number, which is negative 1445, or negative 13.6, if it takes out that low, then I would expect a significant lower move. be on the watch out for that. Those of you that got your indicators, send out the new ones for August, because I will be gone all day tomorrow. But I will be back later in the evening, so you'll have a normal report for Friday and that. US, no surprise here. I mean, we saw this was a breakdown setup from there. There's no change in it whatsoever. Pretty straightforward with that commodity run. TLT actually went ugly early on and continued to separate as it went. Now we get the green support on the ABM. That would be the next location I'd be looking for any kind of support, particularly to see if we dip below the red line. If we don't and make an improvement, that could be an attractive spot again. Gold we expected to retrace down to the bottom point there, so it was no surprise when it did. Pretty close to that, came right back down over to there. And that's even still bearish, so no change in that aspect of it. And the euro continuing to slide further down, which is a problem for the Fed, I think, going forward here. And it's getting ugly, negative 72. Get down to the negative 86 range, and we should see an automatic pop with that. But still, green broke down from there and rise. Now, the only advantage you have here would be the fact that potentially the steel could break above 13.5 at the same time green pivots up, and that would be the potential for a new buy. At least a clear point to cover short setup from there. X had been nice with our safety zone back before. It just had slid out of that, and boom, it just broke up through the roof on that reading. Very nice move. JCP had been moving this way for a long time. Always fun to look at some of these other little ones. CLF went a little bit too far too fast. See that as it started with the morning. We had it moving like from here, and then we could see that that got overbought when it moved up above the plus 13 on the red. Sometimes what this does is it comes down and you can repose a new move back up. That's typically what I expect from that. Could be an opportunity for some 1750 calls on the right intraday configurations. Worth a play. Can't hurt on that one. WLT just retracing the red. No surprise. Just clean fun. Let's put up some of the stocks. Twitter, we've been talking about this being prepped for a nice little breakout move from it. It continued to see the declining, rising red there, and then it just broke up in the morning. Not too shabby. It was a little hard to get them. When you had to see the intraday, the intradays were pretty clear. It was green for the last couple of day plus on the 15-minute charts. Likewise, we were looking for a little peak right there, came in with the green in that the other day on here. It's just still holding in a flat pattern for Tesla. Nothing too dramatic. PCLN had been improving, and it continued to do so. So the rise both with the green right there, countering the pink, which is usually a short, but the problem with that pink was you had rising red here, and then you took out the red peak from before, and so we expected a continuation a little bit higher with that one. I thought around we'll go back to it real quick. The 1250s is what I was talking about originally, and then we potentially talked the other day about possibly getting up into the 75 range. Just throw that out there. I think that was what I mentioned yesterday as well. Netflix, no, that's not going to be sustained. Don't even bother. You get a little improvement with this right here, but the breakdown of the green continuation there. The steel comes back down. That's going to take out those lows. Google, the Google with the L looked pretty weak, same as this, no change. Facebook, all we talked about was some modest selling within this first original part of it, but that it was still strong with the safety zone setups in there. Just had to ease some of that overdone. No problems with any of those, so those are all pretty good. FAS, nice turnaround for it with the rising steel from the previous day, continued to rise, but still getting no long-term broader help from that, so don't get too excited. And Baidu next, just easing off some of that overbought. Still in the safety zone. It's just a little extreme when you get to this plus 13 thing, but typically what it does comes back, retraces that breakout point, and then starts back up again. No issues with that one as well. And just a flat line for Amazon. We knew we had the crossover here and that, but huge separation from there and no improvement from green whatsoever. Now, when the green does come, we'll be keeping an eye on it because it could be a decent play to the upside. Apple just been in consolidation for a little bit of a while here, fighting up that red, but it had rising overall red here. I mean, the deep red readings that you see right there from the numbers, it's just not showing them as the deep red. But you've been in the safety zone and you've had these cyan so far below red and white that it's still been good. And even though this posed a little bit of weakness with the steel dipping below, now pivot back up, and that is going to be a brand new set of buys for Apple. I would expect it to break that 100 number very easily. So it was a quick and easy whip through everything. When it goes nicely, it all goes nicely. And beautiful from our 5K readings have been just very nice in showing the exacerbated weakness. This happens to be buy sell C. And I'll show you the difference between that version and A. Of course, it's a little more squeezed, so you have a little bit clearer idea of those moves. But we're getting to the point where more and more of these other versions are going to be put back into the A and broken out to where we can then even define which ones are going to be off of higher pivots, so it becomes more precise and it just becomes that much easier to follow and have your alerts. Plus, you'll be able to turn them on, off, and have that flexibility, which is nice. And then the next move will be getting into D Omega as well as the ABM that follows, where you'll have alerts that can arrive on the breaks of those, because a lot of those tend to get nice supports from those key breakout points. So be looking for that. As always, looking forward to an exciting new month, and I know we're going to continue to have a clear picture of where the market is headed, which is always very nice to have. And things might get a little bit more interesting. It seems like we've got a little bit more activity taking place, so I'm looking forward to a little more action, make it a little easy to capture a few more runs and potentially ones that a little bit stronger to the downside. As always, trade well. We'll talk again tomorrow.